Hi, Bella. Thank you so much for coming over today. It was great to finally be able to meet my son's girlfriend. You were a very, very interesting person, honey. I seriously did not expect someone like you to show up. I know my son's a hassle, but it would be amazing if you could take good care of him.
I was very glad to have been able to meet you too. And, of course, I'll do my best to make sure he's the happiest man in the world.
Oh, thank you, honey. I cannot wait for your wedding. But before that, of course, me and my husband would be delighted to be able to meet your parents. I would like to bring a small present with me for them. Would you have any suggestions as to what we should bring them? How about their favorite drink? Do they drink any type of alcohol?
Thank you so much. Yes, especially my mother. I recently heard from her that she's very into wine right now.
Oh my, I love wine too. I'm sure we'll make wonderful friends. Could I ask what your father likes to drink? Let me guess. Is it beer? All men like beer. Or could it be something like Japanese sake?
Actually, I don't have a father. I was raised single-handedly by my mother.
What? Is that so?
Yes. I know I should have told you earlier on, and I'm sorry. I was so nervous that I completely forgot to tell you.
So this single mother situation. Since when was this? And may I ask why your father is absent?
My father died right after I was born. It was a car accident. I've been raised by my mother ever since. The first memory I have is one without my father.
Right after you were born. So you've never truly experienced living in a household where there's a father present?
Technically, yes, but my relatives all came together to help my mother raise me, so my uncles are something very close to a father to me. They're the ones who showed up to my school ceremonies and graduations.
That is not the same thing as having a father. Oh my, I cannot believe my son is getting married to a woman who's never had a father.
I'm sorry?
This means you were raised in a very poor environment, correct? This cannot be happening. My son is getting married to a peasant.
A peasant?
How dare you hide something so important from me up until now? You should be ashamed of yourself. You were intending to keep it a secret until the marriage was complete, weren't you? How spiteful you people are.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Johnson. I had absolutely no intention in hiding anything from you. I truly did just forget to tell you. And Patrick knows all about the situation of my household, so I assumed you'd heard about it from him already.
Are you blaming my son for this? I have not heard a single word from him about this situation. If I had been given knowledge about this, I wouldn't have allowed you to come meet me and my husband today.
What?
Oh, what should we do? Judging from the way you're a peasant without the father, I assume you hadn't been given a proper higher education, correct? I cannot let a nuisance like that come into my household. This is unacceptable.
Please calm down. I'm sorry to say this, but you're clearly overreacting about me only having a mother. Some of your stereotypes are simply not true.
What do you mean, stereotypes? All of the things I've spoken up until now are simply facts. A family is consisted of a mother and father and their children. A family without either of the parents is therefore incomplete. You don't know how a normal family looks like, and therefore you don't know how a wife must treat her husband. My son is the one who is going to suffer in the long run if we accept an incomplete woman like you as his wife.
I don't even know what to say to that. My father has a valid reason to be absent. There are millions of kids all over this country who are missing a parent, and sometimes even both. Could you please be a bit more understanding towards my circumstances?
No, I cannot. This is not a matter of understanding. This is the bare minimum that I ask from a woman who is going to be my son's wife. I was born in a normal household with 2 parents. My parents were both very kind, and our family was very wealthy. Thanks to that, I was able to learn not only how a mother and a father should treat their kids, but also how a wife must treat her husband. In the end, I was able to find my own husband and treat him with the care I learned from my parents, and we are happily living after. Imagine what life would be like with a wife who doesn't know how to properly treat her husband. We live in far too different worlds, honey.
Different worlds?
Yes, you need to be raised normally to provide your family a normal and happy life. But I'm sorry, but you were just born in the same normal world as us. I'm sure that you were very poor, and your mother was probably very unkind towards you. And now my son is going to marry someone who's only lived in that kind of world? Unacceptable! We need a family meeting this instant.
Does this mean that you're going to reconsider whether you're allowing my marriage with Patrick or not?
Of course we're going to have to reconsider. I simply cannot accept the thought of my son getting myself into a marriage with someone like you.
You were telling me about how pleasantly surprised you were to see me just minutes ago. You even told me that you were glad to have been able to meet me. Does that all change simply from the fact that I was raised without a father?
I don't like to repeat myself. Please do not contact me until a family meeting has ended. And no matter what happens, blame fate for giving birth to you in a single-parent household.
I'm so very sorry about all of the meaningless things you had to hear from my wife. Just ridiculous. I'd like to meet you and apologize in person. Is there a date and time where I can please come and see you?
There's absolutely nothing to worry about, Mr. Johnson. I accept your apology through text. Similar things happen very often when you're raised by a widow, but I would like to know what the decision was after your family meeting. Am I going to be rejected as your son's wife?
Of course not. I would absolutely love to greet you into our family as Patrick's wife.
Are you sure?
Of course. Please don't mind anything that my wife says. You're a very kind soul, and I see you as a perfect fit with my son. If anything, I'd like to ask you if you really want to choose our son out of all the fish out there. I cannot wait to see you two get married at the wedding.
You don't know how much that means to me, Mr. Johnson. Thank you so much. So we can continue with the process of completing the marriage, correct?
Absolutely. I can't wait to see the mother who raised such an amazing young lady. I've given my schedule for the next month to Patrick, so it would be great if you could please discuss a date with your mother.
I'll be right on it. Again, thank you so much for being so understanding.
No, I'd like to thank you for being so understanding. Your mother is a nurse, right? I'm sure she's very busy with night shifts and everything, so please feel free to give us any date. I'm sure I'll be able to make some adjustments with my company's schedule if necessary.
Thank you. I'll make sure to tell her that.
By the way, I heard from my son recently that your mother works at a hospital in the town nearby.
Yeah, she works at a city-run hospital in the town next by. My mother was originally born and raised there, but she had to leave after getting married with my father. After I was finally a legal adult, she said that she wanted to go back, and that's how the two of us ended up coming back.
I see. So she's originally from the town next door. And she's a nurse. Is her name Julie by any chance?
Actually, it is.
Was her last name Roberts before she got married to your father?
Wow. Her last name was Roberts, actually. How did you know?
I can't believe it. Her and I used to go to the same high school. We're actually from the same grade and same class.
You were in the same class as her?
Yeah, you could ask her if you like, if she remembers a boy with glasses who played the tuba in band. I'm sure she'll be very surprised to hear that you're marrying my son.
I've heard from her that she used to be a part of the band too.
A small world we live in, huh? There weren't many male members, so it was really uncomfortable having to play in the middle of a bunch of girls. Your mother really helped break the ice between us male members and the girls. I can't remember how many times she saved me from awkward situations.
I cannot wait to ask my mother about this. I'll ask her right away when I get home today.
Please tell her that I'm very looking forward to seeing her again. I heard rumors that her husband had passed away, and she suddenly stopped coming to the class reunions, so I've always wanted to know if she was doing well.
I'll make sure to tell her.
Oh, and also, please keep this whole story a secret from my wife, please. She's especially sensitive towards me knowing other women, even if they're friends that I've known since elementary school. She hates the thought of me socializing with the other girls.
My mouth is zipped. I'll make sure to let Patrick know when we decide on a date, if that's fine.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you for saving me yesterday.
Of course, I'll make sure that my wife understands. And I'll make sure that something like yesterday never happens again. I look forward to our future as family, Bella.
Bella, could I ask you who decided on the restaurant that we went today? Because the food tasted like nothing.
Yes, Mrs. Johnson, that would be me. My friend recommended it to me. I'm sorry if it didn't match your taste very well.
That makes sense. It was you who chose the restaurant, I see. Being raised by only your mother, I'm sure you weren't able to go out to eat very often.
I'm sorry if I upset you.
I just wanted to let you know that I haven't accepted you as my son's wife, Bella. I'm just stepping back because good parents don't make decisions for their children. I'm just keeping my mouth shut about this because I'm a great mother.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Johnson. I'll work hard so one day you might accept me as your son's wife.
I doubt that day will ever come, honey. I don't think I've ever accepted a person coming from a single-parent household. I wanted to clear something about the wedding. Do you have some time?
Yes? What could that be?
Well, we spoke a little about the wedding when we were at the restaurant with your mother today, right? And I thought I heard you say that you wanted to invite all of your friends and have it make into a big party.
I didn't mean to say that I wanted to make it into a big party. I just wanted to invite as many of the people who have supported me up until this point as possible. I really wouldn't have made it this far if it weren't for all of them. This may be the best chance that I'll get to show them my appreciation.
Of course, I'm sure that you and your mother have caused a lot of trouble for many people up until this point in your life. I'm sure you'll have to thank them thoroughly for that. Pardon me? I'd like to ask you for just one favor regarding that wedding. I do not want your mother at the wedding no matter what. Keep this promise no matter what happens.
Why wouldn't I invite my own mother to my wedding? She's one of the most important people in my whole life.
Regardless of whether she's the mother of the bride, I do not want that kind of female to be even close to me. She's going to ruin the whole thing by just being there. My precious son's wedding.
Could I ask what you didn't like about my mother?
Did she say something rude? I don't like anything about that lady. She was acting all cocky because she's a nurse. I'm confident that she was making fun of me the whole time because I was just a housewife.
What?
And the way she would flirt with every guy she saw, just because she doesn't have a husband. You saw the way she was flirting with the male waitress, didn't you? How vulgar of her, getting all excited because he was young.
I'm sorry, but I don't think I saw her being that excited like you're saying.
What do you mean you didn't see her? Ask anyone and they'd tell you how excited she was. I mean, who orders their food like that? You can't tell me that you didn't heard how she raised the tone of her voice whenever she spoke to the waiter, and the way she locked onto that young man to serve our table.
My mother did nothing of such nature.
Yes, she did. And you know what? She was also looking at my husband with flirtatious eyes.
What?
The way the two of them were speaking while gazing into each other's eyes with a grin on their mouth. Disgusting! Just what you'd expect from a filthy widow. How dare she try to lay her hands on another woman's man?
Isn't it normal to look into someone's eyes when you speak to them?
I don't want to hear any excuses, and I will not tolerate seeing that filthy woman's face ever again. So you may not bring her to my son's wedding, no matter the circumstance. Your peasant mother wouldn't be able to bring a single present for you two anyways. A wedding is not a place to beg for free food and entertainment.
You know what, Mom? Why don't you stay at home for our wedding?
What?
If you hate Bella's mother so much, then do yourself a favor and stay at home so that you won't have to see her. Out of everyone who's invited, you're the most unworthy to even be at our son and Bella's wedding. I've had enough of your stupid jokes, Marie.
Honey? Is that you? How are you talking through Bella's phone?
That's because we haven't left the restaurant yet. I'm still right next to her.
What?
I was having some coffee with Bella and her mother Julie after you and Patrick left. Just to see you harassing my soon-to-be daughter-in-law like this. How dare you say any of those things? Have you gone insane? Do you really not realize how much of an embarrassment you're being to our whole family?
Wait a minute. Why are you having tea time alone with that lady and her daughter? You traitor! How dare you call another woman by her first name like that?
There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. And what's the issue with calling a classmate that I've known for decades by her first name?
Classmates? You two were classmates?
Yes, I've known Julie since high school. She's always been a very nice friend of mine. I hadn't heard from her since we graduated, and we were having a great time catching up. Until you texted Bella and ruined it. I'm deeply ashamed of your words and actions.
You bring this up just now? Why on earth didn't you tell me that you two knew each other so well?
Why didn't you tell me you still haven't accepted Bella as our new daughter? Last time we had this conversation, you told me how you thought you were completely in the wrong, and that you'll gladly accept her as our wife's son, and as our own daughter. What happened to all of that,
Well,
Julie lost her precious husband in a car accident. But you know what she did? She worked hard and sacrificed everything for her daughter, and that daughter is now an amazing person, one of the best people who I've ever spoken to. And you say those horrible things about them. Shame on you. We're going to have a very, very long conversation about this when I get home. I'm so sorry about my wife yesterday. Could you please apologize to Julie as well for me?
It's completely fine, Mr. Johnson. She's already received a very thorough apology from Patrick, and my mother isn't upset at all about this.
I'd still like to formally apologize about this. And please don't mind anything that she said about you bringing your mother to the wedding. In fact, I'll make sure that my wife doesn't get to go.
What? Are you sure about this?
Of course I'm sure. She tried to keep your mother from going. Why would she deserve to be there? And I need both you and my son to smile and appreciate the moment with nothing to worry about. She's someone that might get in the way of that, so she can stay at home. Besides, your mother would want to concentrate fully on her daughter in a beautiful dress as well.
Thank you so much for your kindness. My mother seemed to be very excited to have been able to meet you again. So much that she's been looking for a tuba class to start playing again.
That's wonderful. She could play for all of us at the wedding.
I'll make sure to let my mother know about that request. Again, thank you so much for what you did for us yesterday. I'll be looking forward to seeing you again at the wedding.
Let me in. Open this door right now. I'm the mother of the groom, for Christ's sake. How dare you keep me from entering? I went out of my way to come all the way here alone. I deserve to be let inside. Or else I'll spread a rumor that your dirty little mother is trying to steal my husband from me.
Mrs. Johnson. Mr. Johnson was the one who decided that we shouldn't let you in today. If you have anything to say, then please talk to your husband.
Shut up! You let me in right now, or else I will spread that rumor that I was talking about. Everyone would believe me instead of a widow and her daughter. You're going to regret not letting me in for the rest of your life.
I'm very confident that what you said right now will not happen. So please, go home. I cannot keep playing your little games.
What did you just say to me?
Not a soul in this wedding hall would believe someone like you more than someone like my mother. Thanks to her likable personality, she's basically best friends with all of your relatives already. That's how she was able to receive so much support in the process of raising me.
What?
To my surprise, apparently she's already known most of your relatives from work. The perks of being a nurse, I suppose. They have endless stories to talk about. Like how your mother was once taken care of by my mother when she was hospitalized. Or how your uncle knew my mother's boss through work. It is truly a very, very small world we live in. It seems like she's getting closer with your relatives than I, the bride myself.
What? How is that possible? A lady like that?
Yes, a lady like that. I saw her trade numbers and make promises to get dinner together with some people a while ago. So I'm sure everyone will know that you're lying as soon as they hear that story.
I don't understand. Why would everyone be so friendly with the mother of a single-parent household? You're just a peasant, a beggar.
Mrs. Johnson, could you please tell me why you keep making the same mistakes over and over again?
What?
I've sent screenshots of this whole conversation to Mr. Johnson and Patrick. And I've also let them know that you're trying to break into the wedding right now.
Are you kidding me? How do you think my husband's going to react to that? He told me that this was my last chance. Please.
I have a wedding to participate in, so I'll be going now.
Wait! Bella, I promise that I'll be quiet for the whole wedding. Please just let me in. I need to see my son.
I don't want you ruining my wedding anymore, so that won't be happening. I just received a reply from Mr. Johnson. He says he'll take care of you immediately.
He called the police on me!
Well then, I'm sure they'll keep you occupied for the meantime. Goodbye then. I'll be busy having the time of my life. The wedding was carried out successfully, and me and Patrick were able to become happily married. Apparently, Mr. Johnson told the police that he would take over after they caught Mrs. Johnson, and she ended up being taped up in a back room somewhere in the building. After the wedding, she was scolded by all of her relatives for saying the things she said, and she spent the remainder of the night crying while me and my husband were having a blast. Apparently, Mrs. Johnson would act in a condescending way to a lot of her relatives and friends, and this was the final straw. Mr. Johnson also took this very seriously, and made Mrs. Johnson promise that she would never show herself to me and my husband ever again, and even sign a contract saying that she would accept divorce if she did. Thanks to all of those things,